I want Jesus to walk with me. I want Jesus to walk with me. While I'm on this tedious journey, Lord, I want Jesus to walk with me.
Greetings, this is Keziah Glow, and welcome back to another episode of Lighthouse Conversations, where we are trying to find the light in very dark places. And so today I have two amazing, powerful women on the line who are working and they're still doing the work. So today I have on Clarissa Sinceno, who is an amazing vocalist, mother of creatives. Her children are doing amazing things. She's a business owner, longtime business owner, entrepreneur. Her attorney, Ms. Lauren P. Raysor, is ferociously fighting this case and is stopping at nothing to get justice. And the group is called Justice for Sinceno. So I want to thank you both for coming on to Lighthouse Conversations. You know, Ms. Sinceno, Clarissa, you had a situation in which it literally knocked you down. And the reason why we're on this conversation today, usually we talk about things that are inspirational, that, you know, we finding ways to find power in these times. And during the George Floyd situation, we saw something that touched all of us, and it inspired so many people and so many different things to start happening in this country. And since then, there has been so many things caught on camera, people seeing things that are not right and injustice happening. We want you both to tell us the story of what happened, and then we want to get into how did you fight back? How did you find the power within yourself when you are down on your knees and you feel like, God, I can't do this. And God says to you, no, this is your story. You're going to do this. And so then you have to get up and you have to do it, and your voice has to matter. So I would like for you both to tell us about your story.
Well, thank you for having both of us on, because it's always an opportunity to talk to young people and to those who are listening out there. The struggle doesn't seem to be over. It comes in different, discussing it with Clarissa, it comes in different ways. It comes subliminal. It comes all kinds of ways. Sometimes you can't really recognize it or see it. So for people that are of color and those of various communities that are poor people, the struggle doesn't seem to be over. And this case is one example of the struggle continuing. So I just wanted to share that we're looking at a time in which we can't rest and say, oh, we're comfortable. And when we talk about this case, it could be anyone. It could be rich or poor, black or white. It could be, anyone's mother that is at any level of life. And what happened on that day, I don't know if I'm to tell you at this time about why we're here. This is the perfect time. October 19th, Geraldine Sinceno, who is the mother of Clarissa Sinceno, and a person that I have known for years. Excellent individual, nurse, very well educated, lives in New Rochelle. They're great homeowners, taxpayers. I mean, just, a great family. And a day that you go to walk out to get cookies ends up where you're doing, and you're still doing the right thing. You're walking in a crosswalk. You're doing the right thing. And then you were hit and mowed down by a driver who didn't have the mercy as Miss Sinceno, Geraldine Sinceno, was on top of her car and fell off her car as she was being hit by the woman. Now we know her name is Gillian Gatlin or Wade or whatever name she's changing to at this point. And the person didn't have the humanity to stop and kept going. And this is in New Rochelle. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I thought New Rochelle was the, and we can't rest on our laurels, because I thought it was the up north for people of color. Ossie Davis and his wife lives there. I mean, you have powerful people. I know some of the other people that live there. So you never know what kind of community. It doesn't matter. So, I mean, I'll start off with that is what happened. And citizens chased her down. She did not stop. And the things that were complicated, the things that were very disturbing was we were able to get a hold of some of her statements. And I don't know if it was an error or not, but she referred to Miss Sinceno, Geraldine, as a thing. I hit something to that effect. I hit that thing. Now, I pray that that's a mistake. But, you know, it was said, it was taken down, it was transcribed. And if this is the kind of person, now, the person who, so the question on this programming is, now the driver was white, and the victim, Miss Sinceno, Geraldine, is black. And what we were asking the system is we believe there was unfair treatment by how she was not arrested at the scene. We've learned a lot more about it. I'll explain later. But we were, and I can't convince Clarissa that if the races were reversed and the cultures were reversed, no matter what, if it was a black person hitting a white person, they would, no matter what the statutes say, they would never allow that young black man or that black man to leave the scene without being arrested. So that's where we're calling on the district attorney of Westchester County to investigate.
You know, I just want to clarify. So basically what you're saying is the young lady who hit Geraldine was not arrested. So that, in a sense, is beyond the two, you know, the pedestrian and the driver. You mean the police actually apprehended her and let her go?
Actually, the sad part about it, they didn't apprehend it. It was the citizens, the people that were in the street, that chased the woman down. Then I guess the police came after, and I believe she was allowed to leave the scene at that time with a desk appearance ticket. Now, the statute could allow that, but I can say this to the people out there, and they have to make that decision in their mind. No matter what the statute said, I cannot convince the people that are listening that no matter what, if that was a black driver and the pedestrian was white, what I can't convince our community is that they would have been let go from the scene. And I truly believe that also. Mm-hmm. So I can look at a legal issue, but I can also say in my mind as a person of color, my belief is that if that was a black man hitting a white woman or a black woman hitting a white woman, I believe in my heart and soul that there would have been some sort of arrest. And I truly believe that. And the community believes it.
Now, I would have a question for you as an attorney. What is the statute for a hit and run? Like, what are the different types of statutes? Because, you know, we don't know. So, like, what is really supposed to happen if you hit somebody and you leave the scene, because that happens a lot in New York City, and New Rochelle's a little different, but here down in the city of Harlem, in the village of Harlem, this is happening a lot. People do these things, and as things get crazier in the Bronx and Brooklyn, I mean, it's going wild. So what is the statute for actually hitting someone and then leaving the scene of the crime?
Well, here there's several. There's 601A, and that is basically the misdemeanor part of it, or the violation part of it. That's when you hit something, but you don't injure the person. You hit the car, you damage your car, you do something like that. That becomes the 600, I believe it's 1A. Then there's the statute called 602A, leaving the scene of an accident. 2A has five different parts, I believe up until A to E. One of them is a misdemeanor charge. The other one, depending on the injury, it goes to a felony charge, an E felony. Now, at the scene, from what I understand, they looked at, and I'm looking at the ticket right now, they looked at 602A, but they looked at it as a misdemeanor at the scene because they didn't know, and I'm not speaking for what they knew, but they did the lowest, which was a 602A as a misdemeanor. When they filed for the misdemeanor, that allows them under a 150 point something to give a desk appearance ticket. Then the question comes down to whether she should have been printed. That's another secondary issue. But they gave her a desk appearance ticket. Now, again, I say this. I know what the law says, okay? And we know what the law always says. But we've never been given the benefit of the doubt when the law could work in our favor. Okay? So what we're saying is take the same statute and have a young black man or a black woman hit a person of Caucasian race, and we can imagine whether the police would allow that person to leave the scene. And that's where we're trying to get to the bottom of it, to understand that, yes, this is, you can tell us this is why you did this. And you can say, oh, the statute said we can give her a desk appearance ticket, she can leave. Where our issue is that in our heart of hearts and our mind of minds, we know the system never gives us that benefit of the doubt. We know that somehow fingerprints would have been run before they let her leave the scene. We know that we would have been printed. Now, the prosecutor is going to push back on me. And whoever's listening from the Westchester County DA's office. So I know I'm out here. But the reason why I'm saying that is that they don't believe that. The DA believes that, this was something that was fairly done. I'm saying in reality, we believe that it would have been different if the races were mixed. And because I want to be clear, that we're not saying the statute doesn't apply. We're not saying it doesn't apply or may apply here. But in my heart of hearts, I know that you would have been charged with something that would allow it to apply if the races were different. I mean, Can you imagine that a black man hits a white woman, drives and leaves the scene, and they give him a key to his car and say he can leave? Just imagine that.
Right. And Clarissa, I hear you, and I know that chuckle is not anything humorous. I know that. And I know that every last one of our listeners, if you are in this country or in this world, and you are a person of quote unquote color, whatever the correct term is that you're using, even if you're of a different nationality and you're in a different country, you still have experienced some type of unfair treatment. And so what Ms. Raysor is saying to us today is something that many of us can relate to. Many of us have been behind the wheel or have had a family member or someone you know or a neighbor who was not treated fairly. That's something that we know. And so the call to action today is to hear what's going on, but to also get involved, because sometimes we hear things and we say, well, that's them, that's sad that happened over there, or that
Right.
was, over in that place. But you never know when that's going to be your child or your mother, or and so it's so important for us to hear these things and to understand that we are all connected. Now, I want to jump over to you, Clarissa, because I really, want you to tell us how you were able to, number one, find the wherewithal to find the gumption to stand up. Because, walk us through the process. What was it like when you got the call, and what did you feel like, and how did you get the fire inside of you to get to the point to be able to stand on the city hall steps and to, create justice for Sinceno? How were you able to do this? So walk us through when you got the call and how you got to this point.
Let me just say that my walk for justice has not began with my mother. I have been out doing things in my community when it's a call for justice. Anytime I'm called or anytime I see a wrongdoing. We had a incident here in New Rochelle not too long ago during the height of COVID, and my daughter was very adamant about marching. And I had a soft cast from my ankle all the way up to my hip. And they marched from Mount Vernon to New Rochelle City Hall. I couldn't march and I couldn't drive, but I hopped my behind from where I was to City Hall to make sure that I was there in number, showing that we are standing together for that injustice. Now, let me walk through receiving a phone call from my mother. I received a phone call. I was out in the backyard. I was cleaning. I was doing everything that normal homeowner would probably do. My mother said she wanted to go into the corner to buy some cookies. I simply said to her, I will get the cookies. She said, it's only across the street. I can get the cookies. It's no big deal. It's just across the street. I hear fire trucks. I hear EMS. I hear the police. And I'm saying to myself, wow, there's a lot of commotion going on the corner. And then I get a phone call. I get a phone call from my mother's phone, and I hear a woman that says she's been hit. And then the phone went dead. So I thought that was kind of strange. I called the number back because it was my mother's phone. And I hear my mother say, Clarissa, I've been hit. I'm on the ground. I then in turn hung up the phone, and I'm running towards the corner, and my daughter sees me out the window. She said that she followed me because she ain't never seen me run in all the years of her life. Now, I don't know if that's a joke or not, but nevertheless, she followed me. In turn, I'm calling her saying, Jordan, your grandmother, she said, I'm right behind you. When we get to the corner, my mother was on the ground. A lady approached me. She was a Caucasian lady. She said, I saw the whole thing. I saw it. The lady hit your mother. She went up in the air. She slid off the car, and she landed, and she's in a sitting position. Now, my mother was complaining then about my legs. And so in that, a lot of people were there, and they kept saying, I saw it. So, I can't put a name or the tone or of the voice to a face, but all mom. And so with that happening and us moving forward to they transfer her to Jacoby Trauma Unit. I'm gonna leave it there because I just want to make sure that I'm in lines with the attorney of what should be said. My fight is always a fight for justice. I desperately try to be transparent. I am the happy person in a sad situation to come and give you a smile or a prayer or even a tear. But I could not understand that something like this happened to my mother and she's not getting the justice that she's supposed to get. And I'm not talking about the community. The community has come out and they came out strong. And it's a thing where I got a good wake-up call. Like, when something like that, when tragedy happens, you think immediately, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm going to pack my family up, and I'm getting out of here because this is just too much for me. But my community stood beside me, and they said, we're not letting this go. There is an injustice here, and we are going to go straight and head on with it. I'm a little disappointed, and I must say, if I am wrong, then correct me. But I'm a little disappointed at the NAACP of New Rochelle and at the Black Lives Matter of New Rochelle. I should not have to call on them to come or find out how our family or how my mom is doing. I should not have to do that. When they call me and ask me to come and stand with them at the Ozzie Davis or Ruby Dee's Park and ask me to sing, or go to a church on Lincoln Avenue and ask me to sing for this particular situation and this particular family, I don't hesitate. It's not a money thing for me. I don't ask them for a fee. I don't ask them for, you know what, give me a monetary gift for my gift. I come and I do what I'm supposed to do because I have the ministry of song. And if it can mend somebody in that audience or somebody anywhere, then you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So the community of New Rochelle is on fire. I had a woman that came up to me when we were at the courthouse on December 9th. She said, I don't know you and you don't know me, but I read the story and I had to be here. And she said, I just want to embrace you to let you know that I am here standing with you for justice. This was not right. So I say that to say my community is on fire. I stand with my community stands with me, and I'm right now I'm shaken, I'm a little overwhelmed, and not only that, but I knew that the attorney that we chose to be a part of changing this community when it comes to something like this was none other than Attorney Lauren Raysor. I haven't seen any attorneys like her in our community, in our area, in our town, meaning the New Rochelle. I have not. I know that there got to be some other situations that have been in New Rochelle that I just don't know about. But this situation right now, this needs to change the rest of what's going on in this community when it comes to not having a transparent or fair justice in investigating a situation.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
Well, I think one of the things we left out was, and that had brought concern to us, and the DA's investigation is not over. We're hoping to meet with them to get more clarity. We believe that there was the father of Miss Gillian Gatlin, is either he has a company that's over New Rock City, which is the amusement park. And I can't remember the name of the company, but it's New Rock something or other. He has that company. So we don't know if there was any favoritism. Like I said, our issue is we know the reality, we know what the law is, but we know what the real reality is. And until the DA's office can show us that there were similar circumstances in which you allowed someone to leave the scene, we're not saying we don't know the laws on the books, because we do. What we are saying is whether that law has been used in other scenarios when the driver is, or when the driver is of color. That's our question. Okay, so we know that the system, and I've been doing this for a long time. We know that the system can twist and turn whenever it feels like it. We know that the system can give favoritism even where there is a statute saying to do something different. So we absolutely, and I think this whole naivete that, the district attorney has indicated, or the ADA that's handling it, this is how all the cases are handled and so forth and so on. Without seeing proof, I don't know if all the cases are handled this way. So that's basically some of our issues there. But we know that this connection that the father has, it's a powerful position to be incorporated as the group that sort of runs, or I don't really know what they do, but have the connection to New Rock City, which has a connection to the mayor, which has a connection to various operatives in New Rochelle. We're not saying we want to get to the bottom of it based on the kinds of things that we know. Now, I'm going to say this. There's a lot of things that the prosecutor doesn't know that we know. Okay? So, they can say certain things, but they're not clear on what was said to us. Now, I'll give you a perfect example. We requested a FOIL request of the video from the police officer from the scene. We made that request, a FOIL, Freedom of Information Act request. Now, we got some reports. They told us they didn't have any video. But in speaking to the prosecutor, we realized they had video. So we want to know, why is that happening? Hands down, my letter says any reports and videos. They gave us an amended police report. We asked for, well, what did you amend? What was the first one? Because the one you gave us says amended. Well, what did you amend? That's the question we have to. Those are the questions that we want answered. We don't have a first report, so they're not giving us the first report they wrote. They're giving us an amended report. So we're not going to just say, whatever you tell us, okay, because we have to send investigators out to the field. And we know what we've uncovered. So it's going to be, we're going to see whether things line up with what we actually know. So that's where we're coming from. There are things that the police told us that you're telling us there's no video, but then the prosecutor is telling us, oh, yeah, we have video. If we didn't go up the level that we went up to, would we not know that there was any video? Do I have to go to the district attorney's office in order to find this stuff out? That's what is concerning to the Sinceno family.
So I just want to interject here, because it's concerning to the Sinceno family, but it's concerning to our justice system. It speaks of what is happening for our justice system overall. And what it leads me, and it always, it always gets my brain going, because you guys are working together. and you have the resources to be able to do this. This is so important because there are so many people who the same thing may have happened to them in that same town, and they didn't have the resources, and they didn't have the voice, and they didn't have someone to say, no, we're going to stand here. We're going to find this. You're not giving us the right report. So I really want to push this, I want to support you to have a voice, because this is probably happening more than you even know. And when we see, for example, our new mayor is coming in New York here, right? And he just announced his commissioner is going to be Keishant Sewell, who is a woman of color, African-American woman. I'm not sure of her actual descent, but she's a woman of color. And I think it's important that in those roles as ADAs and district attorneys, the district attorney for the Bronx is a woman of color. In those roles, is it important to start seeing people who understand the people that live there? How important is that? Does that make a difference, or does it not make a difference?
It does make a difference. And let me just say that, I do a lot of community work for New Rochelle. I had just seen our mayor maybe 2 weeks prior to the accident that happened at the jazz event that we had with Rocky Middleton. I sang on there. There was quite a few public officials that were there because he was honored. Andre Cousins, a lot of them. I did speak to our mayor. So, and the mayor has visited our home and has asked us, would we help support Yadira, who is another public official who lives in New Rochelle. I did get the number to his office, and I called him, and he did return the call. And he said to me, not only to wish my mother, a speedy recovery, but he said that he was going to call the police commissioner, and because we are entitled to all every information that is needed for what has transpired in this situation. Now, he made that call to me because I called him, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, he said that we are entitled. We are entitled to all the information. For me, when you said we are entitled, that means that there is transparency. That I don't understand, why does Attorney Raysor have to request things over and over again for the very information that we are entitled to? We are taxpayers. We pay our taxes on the home and in full. Okay, it's not like, we're asking, we pay our taxes. As people know, New Rochelle is one of the highest tax brackets in the state. So, this is not an easy pill for me. So if our tax monies and all of this is going towards our town, then I don't understand why you have to pull punches or drag information out of folk when there's supposed to be transparency. Maybe I'm naive. I have no idea. Maybe I'm naive. But listen, if there's a problem, I'm going to call and make sure that it is known. And I have the fight. This makes me fight even harder.
When people talk about voting, they don't really understand. They think it's just for the president and, whatever, vice president. But when you're talking about voting, you're talking about voting on local levels. You're talking about voting for judges. You're talking about voting for DAs. You get what you don't vote for. So we have to understand that when we don't participate and say, oh, I'm not voting for this president or that president because they're not doing nothing. If you're not voting in your own community, then you're going to get exactly, like I said, what you didn't vote for. And that's part of the problem. Part of it is the lack of empowerment. Many of us don't feel in our communities, don't feel empowered. I'm surprised that, I'm at a point where I'm standing up. I'm actually unique in New Rochelle. So people have told me that, oh, we've never seen people like you or lawyers like you that are willing to get out here. I know the pressure, and I'm not saying that the DA made a decision that should not have been made, because we're not asking for anything other than what justice should provide. So we're not asking for any favors or anything internally that's wrong. We succeeded in having the charges upgraded to a felony. Now it's no longer a misdemeanor, it's a felony, because I was able to show through the medical records that Miss Sinceno's injury is a serious physical injury. I want the sisters and brothers out here to hear this part, and this is an aside, because we're talking about why it's important to pick a judge. When you're voting for judges. I was in a situation, I had a client that was in a bad situation, and I walked into the courtroom, I was arguing, he put my client out of the courtroom, a black man. And this was horrifying, because he had the right to be there to hear me argue his case, but the court put him out. Then the court asked me, there was a 3-page document that I had attached to the papers, and the judge told me he reviewed the papers. So I said, okay, the judge reviewed the papers. The judge asked me to read line by line 3 pages in the courtroom, when I know he could read it himself. But what he was saying to me was, you read it in. And I looked at him, and only God and my ancestors, because he said to me, well, Miss Raysor, if you don't want to read it, it may not be on the record to help your client. But I'm like, Your Honor, it's part of the papers. You know that's part of the record already. I had to muster up the courage and my ancestors to say, I'm going to read it, Your Honor. Date, January 2nd, 2007. Wow. Dear Miss such and such, I had to read 3 pages. This is in Mount Vernon. This is a judge that is in White Plains. So the young people out there, when you're saying you're not voting, this is what you're getting. And I'm saying it with passion, because I had to pull out, the mercy of God allowed me to pull out the strength to tell this judge. I first said, I'm not reading it. You have it part of the papers, Your Honor. And he said, threaten me. And then I said, okay, I'm going to read it. And I had to read it to the point of the end. I had to say, sincerely, etc., CC this person, whatever was on that paper. So the degradation that we encounter is because we don't vote. It's because we say that we don't want to be part of the system. But when they put that black man out of that courtroom, and I looked behind me, because I said to him, you need to bring a crowd, because he's not going to do it in front of 50 people standing there. And he wasn't able to get the people that he needed to support him. That is what happened. And by the way, that happened 2 months ago. So that's not in the distant past, the slavery, antebellum. That's now. And the white lawyers that were there on the other side.
I think that is so powerful, because there are so many people who say, I don't vote, or I'm not voting, or my vote doesn't count. And, for some reason now, I feel like the elections are like, there's so much attention given to elections. There was just a new bill that was passed last week in which immigrants in New York City can now vote. There are over 800,000 immigrants that are not able to vote. That's going to change the face of all politics in New York City. So it's really important, because if immigrants can say, and I'm second generation, so I'm not saying, this is not for anybody to say, what is she talking about immigrants? Listen, my mother's an immigrant, and this is not an attack on anyone. But if an immigrant can say, I know the power of a vote, or someone can say, we're going to take away your power, because there's a lot of voting bills that are being passed throughout this country, right? All these voting laws that are taking place. It's illegal to give somebody water while they're standing in line. Like, all this stuff is happening. If people know the importance of voting, then your vote must really be important. And what you're saying is so powerful, because we never know when we're going to be in front of that judge, right?
Correct.
Like the judge who, right, right. And so that is so powerful. Or it might not be me, but it might be someone I know, and that's really powerful. And remember, there was a judge that let the guy go from, I can't think of his name now, who the young man who did all the shooting, and he did all the shooting and at the protest, and he just got off last month or whatever. I remember his name before the interview's over. There was a judge in that case that really was lenient on the brother. So I'm saying this to say, you know, we really have to understand what you're saying is powerful.
I just wanted to say, just to really piggyback off of Attorney Raysor, is that your vote counts. Your vote matters. We put in office these judges, these mayors, these senators, and all of these political folks that are in our neighborhood. The local vote counts. It counts tremendously. We do have a voice. And I want you to really be inspired by, you've got to fight. You've got to read. Google is just a fingertip away, because everyone owns a phone. So if you own a phone, you got the fingertip and the fingertips to just type in exactly what you want to say, who you want to get to, how to reach them. 9 times out of 10, they're on social media, because social media is one of the biggest platforms. So, no.
And you have to, sorry about that, you have to show up. You have to. When there's a call for injustice wherever it is, you have to do whatever you can to show up, to show support. I'm not saying, that the judges are going to make decisions, but I can tell you one thing. I know if I was a judge sitting there looking at all these people in the courtroom, trying to figure out what the heck, who's here, and why do we have 100 people in the courtroom, I think they'll take notice. I'm not saying it's persuasive, but you have to show up, because why would they care if they see the community don't care? Why would they care about you if the community doesn't show up and support you? We need continued support, because it could be anybody's child.
Absolutely.
And that's basically what we're saying. It could be anyone's child that could have been hit or hurt. We're disgusted by the fact that this person drove off. I think that really hurts the family the worst. That really is what is driving a lot of this. It's the pain of knowing that you scratch somebody and just put them as if, they didn't matter, and that is what I think the biggest issue is here. The pain of the family, knowing that this woman basically said that, I thought it was a car at first. I should have done that. I didn't see them at first. I saw them afterwards. I felt it. I saw the thing. I'm going to be honest with you. Who are you referring to as I saw the thing?
Hitting, yeah. Walking away, yeah. And then admitting it, yeah. And then going to show up at court and then say that you're not guilty. I'm stuttering.
It was very important that everyone know that she was a hospice nurse.
She did it during COVID, right?
She sure did. She wore that hazard suit, that white suit from head to toe, where everybody else in the family was like, maybe you should, sit this one out. She was determined to go out and help people, and wherever. It didn't have to be in New Rochelle. She was sent to Brooklyn, to Staten Island, to the Bronx, to Manhattan. So all these different places, and she was there right there in the front line, helping folks who were going through, not COVID, but their other, ailments.
And she was looking forward to going back to work before this accident happened. And at this point, we're not even sure what the future will hold. So we're praying that she has swift recovery and can get back to normal, but it's going to be a very long time.
Is there a way that anyone can get in contact with you?
Yeah, Attorney Raysor's information as well, on the www.justice4Cinceno.info. Everything pretty much that Attorney Raysor has approved of in terms of the social media, all the newspaper articles, and also how to get in touch with her is on there, www.justice4Cinceno.info.
Okay. Well, I definitely want to thank you both again for being so strong and so open and so vocal and coming on and sharing this information with us and, inspiring us to fight whatever our challenge or whatever our mountain is.
I really want to just say thank you to the New Rochelle community, because the New Rochelle community came out, and they came out strong the day of the accident. Afterwards, sending things to my mom, just saying, that we are looking for justice, and showing up at court, on that December 9th. There were folks there that I did not know, and I really, really thank the community for doing that. We are about to be back in court on December 23rd. Is that correct, Attorney Raysor?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, December 23rd. If you do not find it robbery to come out and show that justice needs to be made and had, December 23rd at 9 a.m. at 275 North Avenue at that city court. If I don't know you, that's still fine. Just let me gaze on your eyes through the mask.
I really want to say that you both are doing a phenomenal job, because if it wasn't for you both doing the work that you're doing, people would not hear about this. This would not inspire other people. And when injustices happen, it is so easy to just feel like I can't fight a whole system. And you have said, no, we are not going. We are immovable, and we are standing here. And I think this is super inspirational to anyone who is dealing with any type of injustice, even if it's at your job and you're not getting treated right. Whatever it is, if you stand still and you say, listen, God, I need some help, the help does show up.
Well, the most important thing I say is that you have to get involved, and you have to stay involved. And that's the most important in your community. And that's the only way they're going to hear you, and the only way there are changes that are, that'll be made if you come out and you stay involved.
Well, I definitely want to thank you both again for being so strong and so open and so vocal and coming on and sharing this information with us and, inspiring us to fight whatever our challenge or whatever our mountain is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for listening. This is Keziah Glow, and you have been listening to another episode of Lighthouse Conversation on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. We thank you so much for being a supportive listener. If you want to make a donation, you can go to www.whcr.org and make a donation there. Stay right there. Don't go nowhere.
This is the last stop on this train. Everyone, please leave the train. Thank you for riding with MTA New York City Transit.
A stranger asked me what do I want, and so I said your name, and so I said your name, and so I said your name, 'cause you're everything and more. I would open up the door to every day like your birthday. Yeah, we could even take a trip to your birthplace. Yeah. 'Cause that's where it all started. A beautiful woman who turned heartless. Girls that is treatable. Help you 'cause you readable. You crash it like a vehicle. Swear you unbelievable. You left me there starstruck. Fell in love at Starbucks. We could have a getaway. Ocean views, drink Chardonnay. You that I appreciate. Kiss you, baby, can't wait. Yeah, the bread you break it right before me, that's inside me. Yeah. And the wine you sip, the wine you drink, yeah, that's inside me too. Yeah, the bread you break it right before me, that's inside me. Yeah. And the wine you sip, the wine you drink, yeah, that's inside me too. Yeah.